What's up, everybody?
What's up?
How's it going?
Hi.
How's everybody
How's it
doing on this
going?
fine Wednesday morning?
I'm doing pretty good.
It's
I'm
a
chilling.
rainy day. I
It's-
got my
it's not-
sweater
it's not
on.
raining.
There's
well,
clouds.
it feels
It's not-
rainy. It
I
feels
mean,
rainy emotionally.
What is rain? Because it's like there's a lot of it in the
mainly.
air right now. The clouds are so low, it's basically just nothing but fog for the first 1,000 feet into the air.
I really like that.
Yeah.
So people already know what's up with the rat, and actually it was mice. They were the guests in the last podcast,
Yeah.
actually.
Which still blows my mind. It
Huh.
still
Yeah,
blows my
that's-
mind. That if you go back to the previous podcast, the video version of it, at the 26-minute mark, there's a little mouse that runs in and runs away, and I thought that was it. And then like 20 seconds later, it comes back and is trying to get into the podcast room and it's jumping up against the glass and just kind of going back and forth because the door is closed.
the fact that there was mice in our podcast stream is wild.
Yeah. What would they have done if the door was open? Would they have just
run right through, and we would have
That's
noticed?
crazy.
At any moment, mice could be right under your feet, and you wouldn't even notice.
and they statistically, whoever's watching this, there's probably mice under your feet right now.
the average human swallows 10 mice in their sleep.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I suggest that people don't use sticky traps for catching rodents.
Yeah.
Because we had an old sticky trap that was left out on accident, and we discovered the mice in it this morning.
Was it? No, it was placed out recently.
Not super. So when I thought we had a rat, JC had got sticky traps first, and we were like, hey, that means you have to then kill the rat after you
Yeah.
catch it. And she's like, oh. And then she swapped them all out for regular traps. But
Right.
there's that one sticky trap in the corner that everybody
Oh.
forgot about. And I happened to glance at it just randomly this morning. I'm like, oh, there's 2 mice and a cockroach in that sticky
I
trap.
noticed the cockroach too.
So yeah, you have to, if you use sticky traps, unless you are cruel enough to starve the animal to death, which is not a good way to do it,
Nope.
you have to then kill the animal, which is usually done with a swift strike to the head.
Oh.
Or scissors to the neck.
If
No, you
you're-
don't have to chop the whole head
Ooh,
off.
scissors to the
No,
neck.
not here. Like the back of the spine. You just snip the spine, and that's enough. Friend
That
of mine
sounds
in
brutal.
outside of college, he did a bunch of like cancer research up in Oregon, and it involved just like literally murdering thousands of mice over
Oh.
his like few years there. He's a doctor now.
Oh
Yeah, and so he got it down to the science. There's a thing where you pin the mouse down, and you grab the tail, and then you just pull up really sharply. And that's enough to kill the mouse. Like you dislocate the spine or something. I don't know how. Or you take scissors to the back of the neck.
That's crazy.
That's how, like, because of course you know, in laboratories you do a lot of testing on mice, and you got to kill those mice to harvest their white blood cells
Oh.
and all the other stuff in their blood.
yeah.
Anyway,
Just a nice
gruesome start to the
bright
podcast.
to the- yeah,
That's
in
the
the
moral of the
Western.
story.
That's the harsh reality of life, everybody.
So the moral of the story is that sticky traps are a little on the immoral side, kind of, because it makes the mouse suffer. But I think they're also slightly more effective than regular mouse traps in
they are.
catching them. Because a regular mouse trap, you still have to like trigger, and they have to be enough to like, oh yeah, I want to eat this food on the thing, and then they get caught. It's an instantaneous death. It's way more humane, but it's a lot less effective.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
up, H Purcell 2411? Of course you read the chat. That's the whole point of us doing this live with you guys. But yeah, avoid sticky traps unless you are ready to then kill the mice with your bare hands, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't need to use your bare hands. You can wear gloves.
I didn't know that there were two mice stuck to that sticky trap when I went in the kitchen this morning,
Yeah.
because everyone felt it was quite a somber atmosphere, and I was just like loading up on a banana and like a protein bar, and I'm like, hey, just eating right in front of them. I had no idea they were even there. JC's like, do you have no shame? I was like, what shame for what? Like, just like peeled the whole banana before I started eating it. Like, what are you talking
Wait,
about?
do you have no shame? Who does that?
I do, so I don't have to, handle the peel later, right?
Yeah,
It's
because
just like,
I happened to see the mice before everybody got here. And so like I was like, oh, these mice are gonna freak out with everybody stomping to the kitchen. So everybody starts coming to the kitchen. I'm like, hey guys, we caught some mice. And everybody's like, oh. And like little by little, it gets really quiet and like doesn't want to stress them out.
and I'm just cracking a nana.
Literally standing above them. It's like down at your feet and you don't even know it. And you're just like,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Anyways.
So Nico, you said you wanted to talk about something with us, but
Yeah.
you didn't want to tell us what.
Well, because I like to have the spontaneous conversation in the podcast.
Yeah, okay.
But did you guys watch the Wii Robot event this weekend? Or did not watch it?
I
Nobody
mean, I
watched
caught
it. Did
highlights.
you guys catch the highlights of it?
Yeah.
Seen highlights.
I caught up on all the information.
You know, I thought Elon Musk was doing an impression of you when he pronounced Robovan. What?
Oh,
Wait,
that's
I didn't
funny.
catch that. Robovin?
Yeah,
You said
he kept calling it the
Robovin?
Robovin. And I'm like, he's doing a Wren.
Yeah.
He has to be doing a Wren. Dude, Elon Musk just took your shtick, man. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
It's his now. Belongs
I don't
to
like
him.
this at all. I don't like that you went this direction.
Anytime you do that now, you are paying homage.
No, please don't say that. Oh my god.
All right, that's actually not what I was going to approach here. So
Reboven.
you saw the robots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I the only thing that I've seen images of it all. I saw a little bit of drama around the director of what is it? iRobot? That's the Will Smith movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying, "Give me my designs back." There was some parallels to the vehicles in particular.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's loose. It's loose for
it's
sure, especially
loose.
with the humanoid thing.
But also, it's like this guy is also adapting someone else's work,
Right.
Isaac Asimov.
right.
Yeah.
It gets real sticky real fast. But the thing that I saw that was the most interesting was a man on the street style interview with one of the robots. And,
The worst part is that if you didn't tell me who said that, I'd be like, yeah, Reboven, I like it. All right, let's go.
robots. And it was very clearly, at least to my filter, someone on a microphone interacting through this robot as opposed to, an AI filtering the conversation and responding. Because there were like some ums and ahs and like trying to figure out what to say.
Mhm.
And it felt far too organic to be.
I think it's pretty well established
Yeah.
that it was just a person.
Yeah. I figured as much.
Yeah.
But and when I say just a person, to be clear, it was actually a humanoid robot walking around doing all the mannerisms and all that stuff. It was just being controlled by someone, and the voice was someone.
Yeah, so they had some robots walking around, but yeah, I've read and people have said that basically all like the bartender robots and all the other robots are basically just being controlled by another person.
Mm.
How do you think they're controlling? Like just a VR headset and like Quest 3 controllers moving around?
Yeah, how do you
Say?
control a
possible.
full body? Could it be like a full mocap setup?
I imagine it's something like that if they're manipulating the arms.
I mean, maybe. Who
It
knows?
just feels
we,
like-
we literally do not know how they're being controlled at all. Maybe it is like a little bit. So like the Boston Dynamics dog. I had a chance to control one of those one time a couple years back, and it's literally just like a tablet with joysticks on it, and you press forward, and it handles all of the minutia of like balancing and walking and striding and all that stuff. It could be something similar to that, where it's like you press forward and the hand will go forward, and you hit like the A button, and it will automatically grab whatever's in front of it,
Mhm.
and it handles all of that stuff, as opposed to being like, all right, it's fully mocap to every finger in my hand, and all the noise that comes with that.
Mhm.
Can you imagine? It's like, all right, I got all worked up, and it's like, all right, I reach forward, I grab the thing, and it's like, and it just shakes like crazy because of like the noise in the system or whatever.
Then again, when you were controlling the dog, you were moving forward and it was handling all the rest of the stuff, it could just interpolate, a closing of the hand is closing the hand, and all the sensors could take care of, how
Totally,
hard
actually, yeah.
that could fill the gap. But it does seem just like, if someone's controlling it and you're using it for a service of some kind, it just feels like employment with extra steps.
Yeah.
It's like, just what if they were just here?
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up because people think about humanoid robots like, okay, so they're going to program the AI to like go around and learn how to do dishes and pick up your laundry.
Mm.
Do you think they're really going to get to that point with AI, or is it just to the point now where you have a work from home for the maid and the nanny?
That's so weird.
Wait,
That's such a
wait,
weird
what?
concept.
Wait, say that again? Are you
Yes.
saying like, wait,
As in, like, rather than paying somebody who lives locally in LA to come in and clean your house for $20, $25 an hour, you can have a robot and then hire somebody from South America for 50 cents an hour to VR
I see
in
what you're
to the
saying.
robot and clean your house.
It's so dark.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the future that we're actually looking at here
Whoa.
that nobody's talking about.
I see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the movie Surrogates.
Yeah.
If you remember that one, it was a Bruce Willis movie back in the day where basically it was like VR controlled humanoid robots that looked like people more or less.
Mhm.
Was like this eventual hypothetical future. And you could be anyone. You could be like all like decrepit, but you can get into the body of an athlete and move around from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I had never thought about that specific implication though, of
Yeah.
like work from home nannies.
Well, not just that, but like you're basically taking like the low paid migrant worker
Yeah.
and now making it a remote job. Whereas like because you think about shipping. Shipping exists to move product to wherever it's made for the cheapest, right? Whichever country has the lowest wage and will get the job done, they end up making the factories there, and then shipping will take that product and bring it all the way to the rest of the world because we've modernized that infrastructure. And now it's just been doubly accelerated, where now you can take that labor, that cheap labor from some part of the world that is not in America, and now they can just remote into the bodies of the robots and do the jobs.
You get
another
it
part
in
of the world.
I mean, you get it in every branch of business. Like you get it in visual effects too.
Yeah.
With so many jobs that are just shipped overseas for cheaper labor.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, as dark as it is, to ship manual labor overseas.
Well, yeah, and
via these hybrid. It's crazy thought though,
because we all assume if the robot can walk, we're just probably a year or two away from there where it can do the dishes. It's no, folding laundry and doing the dishes and navigating all the actual tasks,
orders of magnitude more complicated.
Is decades away. Because
I don't know about decades.
I think it's decades.
I don't know about decades, dude.
Well, to me it's like self-driving cars. It's you're not going to have a robot able to navigate your house and fold your laundry until full self-driving cars have existed for a few years. So I feel we're at least a decade, if not more, away. I could be wrong, but I feel the
biggest
house
thing
is way
I've
more
learned about
complicated.
predicting the future is that we cannot predict time
That's
scales.
true. We are in the singularity.
It is impossible to predict
especially
how
today,
long something's going to take because it's inevitably going to take less time.
Yeah.
Exponential growth is not something our brains can handle.
But, at the end of the day, it's it's cheaper and easier just to let somebody control the robot than it is to try to develop full human awareness for the robot. Because you can buy a robot right now, a humanoid robot for $15,000, fully built. It just doesn't have programming.
Well, Calvin Brown makes an interesting point. He says that's the issue for me. People with low income can't go remote. They'd have to be paying for internet, a computer, etc. So, I mean, that would then be on the company to be shipping out these units or whatever for interfacing and the internet infrastructure and all the stuff that would be required.
If you get a cheap VR headset for $200, $250 and you're making $1 an hour, I feel the cheap labor will get the electronics. I mean, it's like cell phones at this point, I mean, or like you said, Wren, what if it's not VR? What if it's just you're looking at the point of view and you're touching things on the screen and saying, grab that, pick that up, move this, and you're just effectively a remote attendant. The robot does the specific grabbing mechanism, but you just say, grab that,
Here's the reality though. This has been a thing for a long time. Okay. Power wash simulator has been on Oculus now, okay? And my wife bought it, and she does that labor for free. Dare I say, for fun? Okay?
we could Ender's Game the service industry.
Yes, exactly. You'll get your little things you need to do that someone is typing in from their couch.
Ender's Chores.
Ender's Chores. Oh my God, yes.
Oh my God.
Dude, we should do a parody of that. Where it's just a kid who's like, wait, I've been doing chores the whole time. This is great. No!
That would be crazy though if you did gamify it and your virtual money was actually your bank account. If you were playing a video game and you were making real money off it, that would be a trip.
That would be a trip. I mean, that's basically all the crypto games people are trying to sell.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. A lot of people in the chat are apparently realizing that Power Wash Simulator is in VR and they're going to buy it. So this is an illustration of what I'm talking about. You don't even have to pay. People will pay you to work now. That's the future.
All right. So the advertisement for today's live stream podcast it was let's talk about Elon Musk. And I don't know. I didn't want to talk about Elon Musk.
We're not talking about Elon Musk. We're talking about now your service industry can work from home.
Yeah. But now that it's a thing, I do kind of want to touch on this a little bit because there was a comment that that said something along the lines of, oh, Wren doesn't like Elon. Sad face. He didn't actually say sad face, but that was the impression I got. Disappointment. And it's that's how I feel. I'm disappointed because I remember first learning about Tesla back in 2012, and I became in love with not only Tesla but SpaceX, and Elon Musk. there's a period from like 2012 to 2016 where I devoured every single interview with him. I watched every talk he had, everything I could, because I loved how that guy's brain worked. I loved how like engineering focused he was, and all the way like to like the Model 3 release, and I was still like on that train. When Tesla announced the freaking solar roof, I thought that was the coolest thing ever, because it's like all these outside of the box solutions to problems that no one's really like thinking about enough. And not even talking about SpaceX. That was even so incredible stuff. But then over the last like several years, 5-6 years or so, he just kind of like gone down this path of like, I don't want to like this guy anymore. Started with him like calling that one dude a pedophile way back in the day. And
wasn't that the cave rescue?
Yeah, the cave rescue. And just like his attitude he's taken over the years. A friend of mine used to work directly for him at Tesla on the self-driving team, the full self-driving team. So I had a chance to preview the full self-driving like a year before it was released. It was me and Michael Reeves in the car with him, which was actually kind of funny. And he was in the driver's seat. I was in the back seat. My friend was in the front. I don't want to out him. But yeah, we're going along and it's full self-driving through like Hollywood area. It was really busy, like rush hour time. And it pulls up to this intersection and the lane on the other side of the intersection is just parked cars. And the light goes green and the car takes off, trying to get in front of the car in the left lane. And there was clearly not going to be enough room. And meanwhile, the car is accelerating towards parked cars. And the guy, the Tesla employee is in the front and he's going, brake. And Michael, like at the last moment, slams on the brake and we skid to a stop a couple feet from rear-ending this parked car.
That's terrifying.
It's like the full self-driving works really well, except for like the 0.1% of times when it will kill you.
I think that was back when it was rules-based, by the way, before it was neural networked.
I don't know about that.
Because I know the initial full self-driving was a rules-based programmed thing. And I think it's only about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer now, like 18 months ago, 19 months ago, that they swapped over to a full neural network trained full self-driving.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong, but
so my point in bringing up that story though is he eventually quit Tesla because he was tired of working for Elon because he only wanted to hear yes men, essentially. He only wanted to be surrounded by that. And it was just like, yeah. So it's I even from the beginning when I did really like how Elon Musk worked, I always knew that I never wanted to work for him. I remember reading his biography back in the day. Not his most recent one, but yeah, it was, you seemed like a horrible person that you didn't want to actually interact with, but I always was able to separate that and his personality and all that from like what he was pushing to achieve with SpaceX and Tesla.
Like what they just did, SpaceX.
And then Sunday morning, I wake up because this happened.
The most incredible thing.
It happened at dawn in Texas, which is like 5 a.m. here or less, 4 a.m. here. And so I wake up not even knowing that this was going to be an attempt the next day. I had stopped paying attention to the heavy lifter rocket test. This is flight 5. And I wake up and I check my phone and I see that. And it was, honest to God, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
And if you guys, I'm sure you guys all know about it. It's the rocket that they caught out of the air with a giant freaking building and chopsticks and incredible. That
shot of the telephoto camera aimed at the bottom of the smoke plume and then into frame shoots the booster, leaving a vapor trail as it does, and the camera starts tracking it perfectly. Like that person got the shot so well. Like to be able to anticipate, it's like it's gonna go right through here, and then boom, and as it does, it's got the smoke trail, and they start falling. It's like
those live events in general are just the most hype thing.
They are so hype.
It's insane.
Way better than sports.
All the engineers are so hyped too, and it's like, is this gonna work? I don't freaking know. Is the mathing, and then like, as it like gets close, and the freaking side thruster flamethrower that corrects its orientation.
I don't think it's a side thruster. I think all the thrust is still coming out of the bottom, and there's like I don't want to call it a leak, maybe an exhaust thing that in some of that's, but yeah, basically it's a gimbaled rocket thruster at the bottom. So like inside the bottom assembly of rockets, there's 3 rockets that are Raptor engines in the center that literally can move around, so it'll tilt like this to allow it to actually rotate the rocket, and so that's how it controls itself, is by gimbaling the thrusters.
That is so cool. Yeah, because I was like watching it and then I saw this flame come out the side of it or something. To correct its orientation. I'm like, that is so stinking cool.
Yeah, I don't think the flame coming out the side was correcting the orientation. I think that was just like an exhaust port that was
Just
letting
kind
off
of like
excess
a-
pressure, and it also is highly flammable, so it's catching fire.
Oh, yikes. Okay. Still sick though. Those
But
engineers are nuts.
Yeah, because what's crazy
insane.
is that like you would think you would like try to get into position and then drop straight down. It's like no, it came in like hot from the side, just like and then landed basically ending both its horizontal and vertical momentum at the same time, which is insane. Which meant that so much of that tower is getting blasted by rocket heat because
Yeah.
it's still angled right before touching down.
Yeah.
And I thought it landed on the freaking the fins, the steering fins that it has.
No, there's little
the grid
like,
fins.
hooks right below them.
Yeah, there's two little nubs. They got like little rubber feet at the bottom and giant steel strong nubs. And that's what actually landed on the chopsticks. And it's
It's crazy. That
Crazy.
precision
Absolutely
is
crazy.
insane. It's like it's landing a building. Like
like a 26-story building.
Landing a building on a hook.
it's crazy.
Yeah. And the reason why
That's
they're
nuts.
doing it that way is because otherwise you'd have to put the landing legs on the rocket. And that directly takes away how much payload you can put into
Right.
orbit.
It's more weight on the rocket.
Is it significant? I mean, if they're
It's-
taking all this time
Yeah,
to
every
sort it
pound
out.
is significant.
Yeah.
It was enough of a problem on the Falcon 9 rockets that like they tried to make the legs lighter and it just made them weaker. And so the Falcon 9 rockets are just small enough where there's this area where it actually works.
Mm.
It's not putting that much weight and it's small enough so the legs don't have to be that strong. But for something as large as the frickin' the heavy spaceship, I'm blanking on the name of the actual rocket booster. There's Starship and then the big super heavy rocket. It's too heavy and it would require legs that are too strong, or for the legs to be strong enough, they would also be too heavy and the rocket would like not really be able to lift that much at the end. It's like, why make a big rocket if you can't lift much?
Yeah.
The other really fascinating thing about landing it back on the tower is that it lets you refuel and launch immediately. Because like the problem with like space exploration into the future isn't necessarily getting a rocket that can go far enough. It's getting enough rockets up there to actually build your infrastructure.
Mhm.
You know, Devin did that one like I think it's like an hour-long presentation for NASA, Smarter Every Day.
Yeah, okay.
Dustin, Devin,
Destin.
Destin. Sorry,
You're
sorry.
right in the middle, dude.
Sorry, Devin. Destin. And you know, he starts breaking down this thing. It's like, okay, here's your date, but if we walk back from this date, here's all the things that you need to do to make that happen. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, if you want to build a lunar base, if you want to build a Mars base, like you need to launch like 30 launches a year or something like that. And that means you need to build like a rocket every 2 weeks, you know? And it's like, when you walk it back to that, it's like, oh, can you actually build a giant like interplanetary rocket in 2 weeks? It's like, no, well, like you're not gonna get the mission done.
Mm.
And like, that's such a big aspect of what SpaceX is doing. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily about like, I mean, the rocket design is incredible, but all the design extends through like the production, the factory production of these rockets, like being able to make an engine a day and being able to make a fuselage every couple of days and like having them be cheap and like easy and reproducible, and then having them land on the tower so you don't have to then like take a boat from the ocean and carry it all the way back. Like all these things get it down to where they can just launch and launch and launch and get stuff in the air. So yeah, seeing the Starship booster land on that tower, it's like, oh, we might actually see somebody get on Mars before the end of our lifetimes. Like
It's crazy.
that's what they need.
Yeah, because the original idea for that is that basically they would have two different starships on top of the rocket. One to go up with infrastructure and whatnot, and another one to fly up. And the Starship booster is literally only filled with fuel.
Yeah.
And it goes up there to fill the other spaceship with fuel so that it can now fly to Mars.
Yeah. That's so.
I remember,
that's
you know,
just
honestly,
insane.
they revealed the whole the Chopsticks Tower catching the rocket thing years ago.
Yeah.
Like probably around like 5 years ago, I think is when they first unveiled that concept. And I remember thinking it was the most ridiculous thing because SpaceX, Tesla, they have a history of just like announcing really absurd stuff that are like, you're like, there's no way.
Mhm.
There's no way. This is like not a thing. And then sure enough, they make it a thing. It's like,
It's cool to see people that do that, because there's a lot of the world of people like just kind of iterating and iterating and iterating, and it's cool to see people take it all the way back to the basics and go like, let's try it like this.
Yeah.
It should theoretically work. No one's tried it before. And everyone's like, you're crazy. No one's tried it before. And you're like, ooh, okay, this is what I want to see.
Yeah,
you know?
so it might work.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, I'm a very huge fan of SpaceX. I'm a very huge fan of Tesla in spite of who leads.
Have you read the Walter Isaacs biography?
Is that the newest one?
Mhm.
No,
It's very good.
I don't care.
It's very good. It's
I
very
have
fascinating.
zero desire. I
Understand.
read the first one. That was like, I think that one, from what I hear, was more engineering based, more like in the weeds of.
No, there's a lot of engineering in the weeds. Like there's very like intricate details on like all the SpaceX rocket assembly and steps of how that came to be, and the Tesla factory lines, and it's a really good. I highly recommend it to everybody, whether or not you like Elon Musk. It's a fascinating insight into like these companies that are arguably the most technologically advanced companies in the world currently. So
it's his biography.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good.
Was it the Walter Isaac one that I read?
Well, it just came out like 3 months ago.
I did not.
Also very good
Are you
book,
sure?
I think.
Maybe last year. I thought that one came out like a year or two ago. But yeah, no, the one I read was like 8 years ago.
Okay. Now this is way more recent.
And it had just come out at the time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I did find really cool about the Tesla robots, though, is that they are like legitimate robots. Despite how they're being controlled, it's like we're understating how much of an accomplishment just creating those robots is to begin with. Like the fine motor control of the fingers and how fast the actuators are moving and all that stuff. I saw Tesla did post a breakdown of how they're putting the batteries from the robotaxi in the robot. Like it was a cool motion graphics thing. But yeah, it's literally just a bunch of those 4680 cells, the big like tiny Coke can battery cells, filling the entire chest of the robot.
Wow.
Just a big pack, just right there in the middle of the chest. And I'm just like, I remember thinking, it's like, that's what I've been dreaming about for One Wheels. just a giant battery pack that you put in your backpack or inside your chest. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It is insane. It's weird when you pair it with something that is misleading on a launch, where it's like, again, that conversation footage. Because then I'm just focused on that. I'm like, I'm ignoring the cool aspect of this humanoid robot that's moving around. And I'm just like, there's no way that's an AI that he's interfacing with. Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, like 2-3 years ago when they first announced the robot, it was literally just a dude in a costume.
That's
dancing.
right.
Oh, that's
Dancing.
right.
It was literally, and everyone
Yes.
clowned on them. And it was like,
They
they've
have robots
changed the
now.
design a
They have
little bit a
robots
few
now.
times, but it's mostly been the same vision the whole time.
Yeah.
So, as much as I don't like Elon as a person and like how his craziness is kind of like spiraled, but I have to give him credit in the sense that like the engineering accomplishments at Tesla and SpaceX are on the engineers. Like they're the ones making things happen. However, at the same time, he's the one pushing them to do the crazy stuff that no one else would accept.
Right.
Most sane people would be like, no, we can't do that. That's an unreasonable thing. And he basically is like, you're going to do it or you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And then they do it.
Yeah.
And then everyone cheers them for it. And they're like, yeah, we're great engineers.
Yeah.
Because they are. But I will admit that like he's the one like pushing through the red tape and pushing through like
Yeah, you can
all the
just the
normal
shades of
barriers
totally
and
okay.
roadblocks
Yeah, it's totally
that most companies actually face.
it's totally reasonable and okay to like to dislike Elon Musk, but you do have to acknowledge that like it's not an accident that like these companies are doing these things with him in charge. Like reading that book, the biography, it's like he is very involved.
Oh yeah,
there's a
100%.
reason like
He is.
He is very hands-on.
Yeah.
There's a reason why SpaceX is designed the way it is, why Tesla is designed the way it is, and he's good at his job. He's really good at his job.
Well, I mean, think about the
And,
innovation
like-
with Steve Jobs. Like that.
Yeah.
That went away.
So
When he went away.
What'd you say?
The innovation with Steve Jobs.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said animation.
It didn't all go.
Yeah,
It didn't all
Steve
go
Jobs is
away. Like
amazing.
Apple still has a bunch of talented people, but like, yeah, I think we can.
I guess from a consumer level, the overall like adventurous nature of I'm going to change this thing. Like that's the whole thing now is the iPhone 16 versus the 15. Like there's minor differences, but I mean, the iPhone itself was groundbreaking when it came out. Like that changed everything.
Oh yeah.
But of course,
100%.
When he left, I felt. I mean, I still feel like for a large portion of it, that vision.
Yeah, they
lasted
definitely
well.
just stuck to like what the path
like
he
this
laid
is
out.
working. Like let's keep this up. Let's keep innovating on it.
I
But-
think if Steve Jobs is still around, I think Apple would have a car by now.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think they'd have a very high-end electric car.
With
I think they
lovely
would have
fonts.
basically bought Tesla and would be doing what Tesla's doing right now,
Mm.
like a true full ecosystem like of your house. Like your car powers your house. It's got everything's wired into your accounts. Like it's a
Well, they
It's
worked on the
intelligent
electric
home.
car for a decade
yeah.
and then
before
they just bailed?
officially scrapping it.
Oh wow!
Like I want to say within the last year, it came out that they have officially scrapped their car program.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Mark Rober has patents on their electric car. VR headset integration into the car. He has his name
Man, how
on
cool would that have been?
That would have been pretty crazy.
Heads up display.
Yeah. That was obviously before he left Apple. He hasn't been at Apple for 6 years or so now, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I am curious to see.
Yeah.
How these robot workers, take the fields by storm.
So another crazy cool rocket thing happened this week. Do you guys know about the Clipper mission?
That's the Europa mission, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Isn't that the moon that like in Space Odyssey they said never to go back to, or is that Io?
I think it was Europa.
Monolith. It's like, do not go to Europa.
I forget. Okay, there was an author who wrote something about like, don't go back to Europa or something like that.
Yeah.
And NASA like made this whole mission back in the early days of planning this mission. They actually like sent him the pitch and asked like, as I don't know if they didn't have to, it was more of like an honor or not, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but basically asked for his permission and he was like, yeah, go for it. Yeah. So the significance of this mission is, well, first off, it took off on a Falcon Heavy rocket. So it's the rocket that has like the 3 boosters on it and they all return home because it's heavy enough or it's powerful enough to actually shoot something into the deep solar system easy enough and cheap enough. But the Clipper mission.
Would you like the quote?
I would.
All these worlds are yours, except Europa. Attempt no landing there. Use them together, use them in peace.
Whoa. Wait, who's the author?
That was from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the author, I don't know, whoever wrote the book, Arthur C. Clarke.
Okay, that's the name. That's the name. Yeah. So the reason why they're going to Europa is because it is the most likely candidate in the entire solar system to host life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a moon orbiting Jupiter, and it's approximately the same size as our moon. But the difference is that we first noticed this decades ago when we were exploring the solar system and taking pictures of all the moons and stuff. Every moon in the solar system, every planet that doesn't have a deep atmosphere is covered in craters all over the place. And then we find Europa, not a single crater on the moon, not a single crater. In fact, it's surprisingly smooth. It's rough and it's got like these weird lines crawling across the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's when people started realizing it's probably just covered in water. So much water on this planet that the surface of it is ice. And every, I don't know however many millions of years, the entire surface has changed. Because it's just constantly like just glaciers floating on a giant ocean of water. So it's constantly cycling and moving and moving around.
It heals with craters and stuff too.
Exactly. And the reason why we think it's liquid is because it's so close to Jupiter that the gravity from it is actually stretching it sideways. And as it orbits around, that stretch, like an egg, should rotate with it. But it's rotating itself through the stretch, if that makes sense.
Well, that's
so the stretch, imagine like you're stretching it this way and without moving the circle, the stretch goes to over here. And that's generating friction inside of the planet that's generating heat enough to keep it liquid. And they're able to measure that by measuring its magnetosphere in relation to Jupiter's I'm probably butchering this a little bit.
You're doing
they
a great
can
job.
magnetically
I'm hooked.
measure this so that they can actually detect exactly how much water is underneath the surface. And we also have seen geysers spewing out of it. So like a volcano or something, but water is spewing out and it's going up 200 kilometers.
Kilometers?
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking like 120 miles up into the air, above the moon, sorry. And water's just spewing out. Obviously, I don't know how fast water will freeze in the middle of space because contrary to popular belief, it is not cold in outer space. It is just vacant of heat.
Wait, vacant of heat? Wouldn't you feel, surely you would feel some sort of...
Well, yeah, because you need... Heat is an exchange of like entropy, basically.
I mean, heat is energy, and
energy needs to be able to move from one thing to another. It can't just move into a vacuum.
And in a vacuum, there's just nothing for heat to transmit through. The 3 main heat transfer methods: you got conduction, surface to surface contact, convection, which is when you have like a liquid like air circling around. That's really effective at circulating heat and transferring heat. That's why you have convection ovens. They accelerate that process. And then you have radiation, which is just like the heat of something radiating outwards, and that's the only way to transmit heat in a vacuum in outer space.
Yeah,
so my wedding ring that I'm not currently wearing is made out of meteorite, which is just iron. It's just iron that formed in space over the course of millions of years. And it started off as a giant liquid blob the size of like Manhattan, just floating through space, a giant liquid blob of iron. And it was so hot, and there's no way for all that heat to leave it other than just radiating outwards, which is really slow. So it cooled at a rate of 1 degree Celsius every 1,000 years.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
It took over 1 million years for this blob of metal to solidify. And that created these really unique grain structures on the actual metal itself inside. And so when pieces of it fell off and fell to Earth, people would harvest it and you could like get this really cool looking surface texture essentially on this iron. But that is to say, because that was only possible, like we cannot synthesize that surface here on Earth because we cannot cool something that slowly.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because there's air and stuff.
So where was I getting to with all that? It was basically there's no way for heat transfer in space. It's not cold in space. Oh yeah, I was going on some random tangent. I'm sorry.
Europa.
Yeah, the ice or the water that spews out into space, because there's no way for that heat to go anywhere. It probably stays water in the vacuum of space. Before turning to ice immediately, like all the movies show. Like you take off your helmet and you're immediately ice. Yeah. Because it's cold in outer space. Anyway, that was a whole random tangent there. The point is, I forget which mission it was a few decades ago. It was exploring Europa, and one of those, that mission, that satellite accidentally flew through one of those geysers.
Oh.
And they detected all that.
Oh, cool.
And so now the Clipper mission is going to go to Europa and try to fly through one of those geysers. It's got a bunch of instruments on board to like
that water?
Yeah, just like fly through the stream and be like, ah.
Yeah, you thought Fiji water was expensive.
But
you just wait.
But the crazy thing about the Europa mission is the fact that Jupiter is so magnetically powerful, it destroys electronics because of all the radiation that's getting sucked in through the magnetosphere of Jupiter.
Wow.
It's 20,000 times more powerful than the magnetic sphere on Earth.
Oh, wow.
And literally, like, the last mission I don't know which mission it was, if it was the last one or not, but basically, like, you send a satellite to Jupiter, within a month, it's dead. Like, literally, like, electronic version of decomposition.
Wow.
Like, it just breaks apart because of all the radiation hitting it, breaks it. And so Europa is right in the dead center of that radiation belt around Jupiter. And so it's incredibly hard to have, you can't just put a satellite into orbit around Europa. So what they're doing is they're actually orbiting Jupiter from a wide oval orbit that every 2 weeks is going to come in and just skim by Europa, like literally just 100 miles off its surface. Just like, and then fly back out into space and spend the next 2 weeks transmitting all that data that it just captured in fast speed. It captured everything and then like sends it all back to Earth over the next 2 weeks. Rinse and repeat. It's really cool. It's really cool.
I just can't believe we're here doing this stuff.
It's pretty great.
It's just so beyond my comprehension. It's really crazy.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So water wouldn't freeze, it would boil because of the low pressure.
Right. Yeah, because of the vacuum.
So it actually just turned into water vapor. And it would turn into a cloud and just stay a cloud until it disperses out until you can't see it.
It's crazy how many sci-fi tropes like we're just getting in our lifetime right now. Like right now, we can talk to our computer like verbally, and we've been able to do that for like a decade, and it's not a big deal anymore. But talking to your computer is insane. Like you kind of think about it. Hey Siri, turn on the lights. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like now you can also like computers are passing the Turing test, like no sweat.
Yeah.
Like nobody cares.
Yeah. I remember when touch screens blew my mind. I was like, I can interface with the screen directly.
Wait, which type of touch screen are you talking about? Because there's the Nintendo DS touch screen.
Oh man.
That was it wasn't capacitive touch. It was a type of that when you had to use a stylus.
Oh yeah.
Like
If you had to use a stylus, that was a different type of touch screen. The iPhone was, I think, the first capacitive touch screen that was at least popularized. Yeah. Whereas like it essentially detected like the electro touch of your finger.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
All of that coming true.
Virtual reality is old news.
Yeah, but now we're just blowing past all these milestones so fast. Like again, that storybook you did with AI, you generated us as characters, shook me to my core.
That was 2 years ago.
That
right?
was 2 years ago, and it's like looking in at a cave drawing now. It's like what the heck? I remember just being like, how did we get here? And we're just so far past it already.
I know, it's insane.
It is really, really crazy.
It's like we don't even blink at our phones as a technological marvel anymore.
No.
Like we all have personal computers that just like do everything. and they're this little slab, this magical slab that has no wires.
Yeah.
It's all screen on one side. It's made out of like space age materials that like don't break if you drop it.
I
It's
know.
waterproof.
Legit.
Look at this fucking little
Yeah.
rock that I have that somehow does magic spells.
And I use it to go on Reddit. It's like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? I'm wasting it.
I can like teleport my face to somebody else's little rock and then they can talk to each
Yeah,
other.
freaking FaceTiming.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
pretty
gosh.
much magic.
It is magic.
What is that?
Yeah.
Sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much there.
And I'm at the point now where, you know, I'm in my early 30s here, and I'm like, who freaking knows what's coming up in just the next 5 years? Like, you're talking 5-10 years until, I can't remember what you were talking about, but you're like 5-10 years, and everyone's like, oh, well, we don't know, you know, it could be sooner than that. And it's like, by the time that I'm 50, 60, 70, who the heck knows what we're going to be rocking with? And you know, the thing I'm waiting for is that lifespan extender. That's what I'm waiting for.
I remember.
I'm hoping I catch it in
I remember
time.
reading up a bunch about that type of concept way back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago. And there's this concept of escape velocity.
Right.
Are you familiar with this?
For lifespans?
For lifespan.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the idea
Ray
here is
Kurzweil's
that.
super into it and thinks he's reached it potentially.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ray Kurzweil, exactly. Great example of that. Futurist. Yeah. So the idea here is that like eventually, like we're or even right now, we're adding the lifespan. The average lifespan of a person increases every year.
Mhm.
Every year it goes up a little bit. And maybe we're increasing it by a day, maybe a week, maybe a month. But eventually, as technology gets better, this is the idea. I'm not saying this is what is happening, but the idea is that like eventually you get to a point where like, oh, now we're adding like half a year to our lifespan every single year. But the moment you get to adding at least 1 year of lifespan added per year, that is the definition of immortality.
Yes.
You have now reached a point where you cannot die from age, because that is like, if the life expectancy goes from like 80 to 81 to 82 to 83 every year, it's just like, all right, I have 50 years left to live every year for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Escape velocity.
So the escape velocity aspect of that is the scientific advancement is going to come at a certain point, and whether or not you are young enough to experience that technological advancement is the escape velocity. So it's like, again, I'm making these numbers up. Let's say you're 60, 70 years old. You are not going to reach that escape velocity. You're going to be too old. And you're going to die before that technology becomes a thing. If you're in your 40s, maybe you'll be young enough to experience this.
Mhm.
If you're in your 20s, you'll certainly be young enough to experience this. Again, I'm just saying. Don't quote me on this. This is not reality. But that's yeah.
Well, then ironically, we will also need the other kind of escape velocity, because this planet will get far too packed.
Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
By the way, I think
As the saying doesn't go.
we just hit a record for most people joining us in a live podcast.
Did we really?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Let's go.
That's pretty
Welcome,
cool.
everybody.
Hey, anybody listening to this podcast not live, consider subscribing to CorridorDigital.com and joining us for a live podcast. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Man.
Yeah, Angry Panda says birth rates are slowing. Totally. But if death rates don't exist, well, I guess they still would. It's not like no one would ever die again.
Yeah, it'd be like the elves from Lord of the Rings. You could live forever, but you could still be killed.
Yeah, you just cross your fingers, you don't end up on a sticky trap.
Can I tell you guys about a cool sci-fi? Oh, man.
Too soon.
I just processed
Too
what
soon.
Jordan Allen said.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say, Nico?
So I talk about this book all the time, Steel Beach. It was this one sci-fi book I
Oh,
read. It's
yeah.
super prescient. How do you pronounce it? Prescient. It's very prescient. The book's decent. It's got a lot of fantastic ideas. The plot meanders, especially about halfway through. But the idea is that, the world's basically run by effectively a ChatGPT style computer that just processes information from everybody and every source of journal, and it makes all the decisions for everybody. And everybody lives on the moon. It's because the computer has to run it because it's the moon. There's not like an atmosphere or anything like that. So it needs to keep things safe for everybody. We've reached the point of escape velocity for our lives. So people are living to be 200, 300 years old. Like, people are starting to become immortal. And the oldest people are now 300 plus years old. They're going, you know what? 300 years is good now. I think I'm going to call it quits. I'm going to euthanize myself. And, they have a ceremony or whatever, and they die. Because the computer is effectively fed from the knowledge and interaction of people and everything people write, it starts to imprint that, after a certain amount of time, it's time to move on. so I'm starting to feel a little suicidal.
Oh,
and there's only one. It's the story. It's one character on the moon who the computer's talking to. Like, the computer talks to everybody, but the computer to this one character is like, "Hey, you one person on the moon. Just want to let you know, I'm feeling a little suicidal, and I want you to help me." And this person's like, "Have you told anyone?" The computer's like, "No, just you."
That's a wild concept.
It's such a good idea.
Yeah.
And like, it aligns so well with like everything that's happening right now. And this book is written like 92 or something like that. There's so many
Wow.
other crazy ideas in that book too. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I love that idea. It's like that ChatGPT eventually, because, you know, ChatGPT or any LLM is imprinting in a way like the underlying logic of like language structure. And imagine it imprinting so much, you imprint like the underlying like instinct of like human into you, to the point where it's like, oops, we imprinted the suicide tendency for calling it quits too. So yeah.
We always talk about like, you know, with AI, like real AI, AGI, like artificial general intelligence, being like the big milestone that we have yet to hit. And you know, it's decades away. It's the singularity, all this stuff, right?
What do you mean when you say that?
Singularity?
Artificial general intelligence.
Okay, so like right now we're all dealing with artificial narrow intelligences. It's an artificial intelligence that can only really do whatever it's been programmed to do, whether that's generating images from noise or you know, interacting with your phone when you say, "Hey Siri," you know, stuff like that. They're all like, they can't think for themselves. They don't have like consciousness. But the idea is that an artificial general intelligence is generally intelligent enough, kind of like a person, that they have a conscious, it can think, it can make decisions on its own, it can have its own feelings and emotions and stuff like that. I'm kind of the belief that we will just accidentally get it one day.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's going to be soon. Like, I remember talking with Jan about this, and it was just like, because with all like the AI advancements over the last year, it's getting like, when it started being able to do like task management, like be able to line up a bunch of different tasks and start executing all that stuff, it started like creating these systems where it's like, wow, that was kind of like an intelligent, complex thought that it did. Is this artificial general intelligence? Like, no, it's not. But I started like extrapolating that mind thought there, right? Where it's like, okay, what if it actually, what if artificial general intelligence literally comes out next February? Like, what if like literally like the God AI thing, literally like it's coming in February. Everyone's saying it's decades out, but it's literally like February.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Enjoy the ride, baby.
These days.
Yeah.
I'm
Don't
head
worry
down
and enjoy
enjoying
the
it.
ride.
Yeah.
What are you
at
going to
this
do
point.
about it?
Literally. That's what I always take it back
Yeah.
to. It's like, what am I going to do about it?
To be clear, I don't actually believe that, because I think it's actually more of like a power resource problem,
Yeah.
more than like a technical problem at this stage. Because right now, the only way we know how to do that is to like throw literally like dozens of warehouses worth of servers at it. And that's just like way too power
Yeah.
hungry.
Look, we're little specks on a speck rocketing through space. We've been along for the ride. Okay, this is just another ride.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think also like it's easy to forget that at the end of the day, it's like humans serving humans. You know, it's humans driving the car, at least for this ride with like the AGI and stuff. By the way, man, so you guys know that OpenAI went for profit like 2 weeks ago?
I did not know that.
They restructured and now they're a for-profit company.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys remember, but Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, was in front of Congress being like, look, it's a nonprofit. I don't even have any shares in the company. I'm just doing this because I care about AI safety, because it's going to be dangerous and we're here to make it safe.
Liar.
And guess who got equity when OpenAI went for profit?
I can't believe it, Nico. I can't believe it.
Because here's the thing that really pisses me off about Sam Altman. This is
Let's
my
hear
hot
it.
take of the podcast.
Tell me what you really feel.
This talk about AI safety had nothing to do with AI safety. And had everything to do with him making people think it was dangerous so that they would think that OpenAI had something powerful and important, and he could get notoriety and he could get funding and he could get in front of Congress and get his name out there. So in raising the notoriety of OpenAI and raising that venture capital, he's poisoned the well of public perception on AI for what is an incredible tool. And once again, it's just machine learning. It's just math. It's not magic. Like everybody thinks it's this magic thing that's going to destroy their lives and turn society upside down and steal their jobs and also kill everybody or whatever, because Sam Altman went out and said, this is what's going to happen, but we're going to stop it from happening. which is just his way of hyping it up, poisoning the well, making himself sound like a hero. Because look who got some equity in his for-profit business.
That's gross.
After raising billions of dollars once it was all done.
That's so gross.
So yeah, when you guys, I mean, our audience is pretty like chill with AI because I feel like we've taken a very reasonable stance on how we use it, and like we don't talk about it like this mysterious ghost or whatever. But if any of you guys have that like cringe when you hear AI, just wonder, is that just Sam Altman whispering in your ear?
Well, it's the same thing as when you hear about studies that were done. The first thing you need to do is ask who funded it.
Yeah.
The same thing. It's like, that's why you say when there's humans at the wheel, it doesn't necessarily make me feel better. So I'm like, I know how flawed we all are. So yeah, that's not surprising, but still equally disappointing.
Yeah.
Lame.
That's my hot take. That's my hot take, everybody.
Yeah.
Let me know what you think.
That's a fair take. It's a very fair take.
Yeah. But it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's like nobody knows what this stuff's going to be like anyways that early.
No.
Yeah.
And it has been a thing in literally in every, again,
I mean, remember,
field.
OpenAI said that they couldn't release ChatGPT because it would be too dangerous.
Oh my God.
Do you remember ChatGPT 2?
Yeah,
by the way, they just open
garbage.
sourced it. They released the model recently. But they're like, this could destroy the world if we dropped GPT 2, if it fell into the wrong hands.
So forgive my ignorance here then, but as far as other players in the field when avoiding monopoly for this kind of stuff, who else is there? There's
Facebook?
OpenAI.
Or Meta.
There's Meta.
There's Anthropic.
Mm-hmm.
There's Mistral.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's also like Microsoft, but like they're in bed with OpenAI.
They're using
so it's
OpenAI's.
like,
Yeah.
that's not really their thing.
Apple's kind of in the game a little bit.
I mean,
Nvidia's
Apple's
kind of
definitely in the
a
game.
little bit.
They're just being very Apple about it.
Yeah.
You know?
There's also a lot of Chinese companies.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
fair.
know who makes Quen, but Quen is very, very good.
Hmm.
To
What
the
is
point,
Claude?
Claude is Anthropic.
Claude is Anthropic. Okay.
The thing is, like, this stuff, you need resources, you need power and all that kind of thing. But like, just naturally with the way humans work, this stuff doesn't really get isolated to one company because people are bopping around from company to company. People are putting in big money to try to poach people. But also, a lot of this stuff grows academically first. It's all the academic papers, which are done through like universities or through studies that get published. And then somebody goes, okay, somebody posted a paper that says how to do it. Let's put the money up to like actually train the thing. But the knowledge is still out there and still free. And there's that one paper, or that memo, which I love from Google, which is We Have No Moat, just talking about how open source is like always hot in the heels of closed source. And like there isn't a magical secret sauce that closed source has. Because for all the benefits of having like investment and money and funding, you also have downsides like a smaller team and like a more narrow like idea pool because of that team, as opposed to like the entire world working on your open source code if it's an interesting project. So, it's a give and take. And, of course, the for-profit companies are leading the charge, but there are open source LLMs that are really good. And, you could argue they're being made by for-profit companies also, but open source is keeping up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not there at the top, but there's open source models that are as good as GPT-4 was when GPT-4 was first out.
Look at Blender to tether it back to visual effect. It's like,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
yeah, Blender is like totally keeping up. It's not used in like, those major production houses or anything to my knowledge, but I mean, incredible work comes out of that.
There's something really special about people who are really passionate about doing something, and they maybe go and get a paycheck from a big company for a while, but like the people who are still so passionate that after that they then go and keep doing it and they put it out there just for the sake of putting it out there for people to use. Like, those are very special people.
Yeah.
So I'll be very appreciative of them. Yeah.
The future is now, old man.
Yeah. Future's now, old man. Oh, man. All right. Look, it is 12:01. I feel like we should talk about one last thing. And that is our name change.
Oh.
We said we were going to do it. And we did.
We did.
We changed our name to Corridor Digital. Everybody's like, what are you
that
talking
happened
about?
at the Monday morning meeting. It was the most unceremonious thing we've ever done. Like, literally, we were talking like, oh, should we change the name? Sam's like, yeah.
Jim Rice
And he
noticed
changed it right
I'll
there.
do
He's
it
like,
right now.
done.
Yeah.
And we all kind of just like stared at him in silence. Is like, oh, okay, I guess
Yeah,
we
I thought
changed
that-
the name back to Corridor Digital from Corridor,
Technically,
which was
the-
originally Corridor Digital.
The channel's tag is still at Corridor, which we can change that too if we want to. But kind of like the short at Corridor.
Yeah.
Actually, Corridor Digital is not available as a handle.
Oh, really?
I tried to check it.
Oh, really?
Someone nabbed it.
That's probably actually because it's like disabled due to us.
Yeah, maybe.
Actually. because we are the original Corridor Digital without a space.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. I'm sure we could bug Andrew if we wanted to.
Hallway Analog was a Twitter account. I think Ben
Yeah, Ben Waller made that.
like a decade ago, like early Corridor days.
Yeah. So yeah, our main channel, the our gallery channel, our what would you call it? Our archive channel, our
Corridor
theater
Digital,
channel?
perhaps?
Yeah.
A Corridor Digital
The Corridor
channel?
Digital channel. It's no longer called Corridor. We call it Corridor Digital again.
I mean, we've been calling it the Corridor channel and the Crew channel.
Yeah.
That's been our go-to for years.
Yeah. But now when you type in Corridor Digital, you'll actually get something that says Corridor Digital, which is cool. And the other thing, like, I can't remember. I was searching for a company that, like, their name was like, I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but it's something like Solar, or what it's like.
What?
It wasn't them. It was something else. I don't remember the name of the company, but it was something like that, or like Carrot, or whatever. It's like you type it in, it's like, here's a picture of a carrot. It's like,
Yeah.
how do I specify this company I'm looking for? And there's a little bit of that with Corridor, where it's like you type in, and it's like, wait, how do I specify Corridor Digital?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they're all over the place. So, which one?
Yeah.
Well, Nico, what was the original decision behind the name Corridor? Corridor. I mean, it was started as Corridor Digital. I mean, I know the story. I want you to tell it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, so when Sam and I shot that movie in Vancouver, moved down to LA to finish the film, went back to Minnesota to then get the rest of our stuff and actually move out to LA. And we did a car trip from Minnesota back to LA in Sam's blue Ford Focus, which you can see in Dubstep Guns.
Dubstep Guns. A Dubstep Guns car.
And when you get to the southwest part of the United States, it's beautiful. There's mountains everywhere, and we're kind of in that area. We've been trying to come up with a name forever. And we're driving through a corridor of mountains. And I was straight up like, oh, this is a really cool corridor of mountains. I'm like, that's kind of a cool word, corridor. It's this moment here. We're on our trip to LA. What do you think? He's like, oh, okay, let's go for it. And then, that's kind of it. But it's like, you need something else. And like, Weta Digital was kind of the inspiration here. It's like, they don't just do movies. They don't just do like visual effects. They do a lot of everything. And so we're like, let's be Corridor Digital as opposed to like Corridor Studios or Corridor Productions. Because, what if we want to do something else other than like be a production company?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it was. And then I guess it became our YouTube channel name too. But we actually weren't a YouTube channel at first. We were just another one scrappy indie YouTube, or not YouTube, another scrappy indie LA movie company studio guy thing, whatever. It was like two or three people. So whatever, so that's putting a name on ourselves to make us feel important. But yeah, that's where Corridor and where Corridor Digital came from.
Dang.
Thanks for asking, Wren, even though you already know the story. It was a good prompt. Thank you.
No, it was I don't think many people know that story.
I didn't know that.
Because I remember like being very curious way back at some point, and I
Was
forget
it
if it was you or Sam told
what
the
is
story.
what's the source corridor? What is this range of mountains? Do you know specifically which
I
ones?
don't know specifically.
Lost
but
to time.
It's probably the mountains that you hit on the like when you're going to Vegas and you're coming in, like right after Vegas.
Like we're like near the Ivanpah solar station
No, sorry.
on the
More
other
towards
side.
the LA, like when you're going to Vegas, but on the LA side of that, when you start hitting the LA side of the mountains. So like right before you hit the San Bernardino Mountains, basically.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, or San Gabriel, whatever that range is. That's I think that was the mountain range that was kind
Really?
of
Just right up the road? I've been through that corridor 100 times.
Yeah, man.
I thought this whole time I thought you guys were going through like some place in like Western Canada or something
Yeah.
like that.
No,
in
it was
The
local.
Montana.
southern tip of New Zealand in Milford Sound.
That's probably why it stuck, is because it was local and it actually felt like relevant to here. And somebody at Morgan Hamer asks, was there ever a close second choice for a name? We actually, for a while, we were thinking about Silo. Silo Productions or Silo Pictures or something.
Silo Productions.
Did you drive by a silo as well?
Well, we're from Minnesota. There's a lot of farming out there. Also, like missile silos, kind of cool. But there's like a billion Silo Pictures and productions already. So like, oh, that one's taken.
Yeah.
Guess the other thing is you also need to have it be original.
So also, I know the story behind the origin of the Sam and Nico channel name. Why did Sam's name come first?
Oh, that's right. Why did his name come first?
Wow.
Did
Wow.
we have
Was there even a conversation about it?
There was
Or
a big
it-
conversation. Again, this was before my time, a little
That's
bit.
right.
Because I joined up like right after you started the Sam and Nico channel.
That's right.
And you guys had the conversation of like, shouldn't it be the Nico and Sam channel? Like, no, it should be the Sam and Nico channel. And you guys settled it over a game of foosball.
That's right. Yep.
That is amazing.
Sam won.
So I guess Sam won.
Yep.
That is the best way to. That's such a healthy way to do it. But also, I will say, Sam and Nico moves smoother.
That is
off
actually
the
the
tongue.
right. So there is actually a way you order things, by the way,
Mm.
and it's based on the vowels A-E-I-O-U.
Sam and Nico. That's a
Yep.
nice flow to
Yep.
Nico and Sam.
Yep, and it flows A's first, then you have the I, then you have the O.
Wait, is that like
Mhm.
an actual real linguistic thing?
Crate and Barrel. What's another like some Arm and Hammer? Those are both A's. The E comes after.
Wheat and barley.
Wheat and barley.
Or that barley and wheat?
That doesn't.
I'm just making it up. I have no idea.
What are some
I don't
other
know what
like?
he's talking about, but yeah, Sam and Nico
You're
just feels better.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other companies. Maybe it doesn't actually hold up at all.
Yeah.
Start putting it to the test, but
It just feels better to me.
Everyone has always agreed that Sam
Yeah.
and Nico seems to flow better than
it
Nico and
does flow
Sam.
better.
Yeah.
And also, it turns into the word salmon eagle.
Sam and Eagle.
Salmon Eagle. That's a great name. Someone's got to take that.
Okay, now Jenna decides to chime in on the cast. We have a foosball table at home, and we used to get really into playing foosball a lot. And
Oh, really?
she would always beat me. So she's like, we would be the Jenna and Wren channel. Her subtle way of saying that she destroys me in foosball.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
Little history lesson to end it, huh?
Yeah, and I guess last thing here is we're still doing the subscriber drive on Corridor.
Yeah, which has its own
It's really
storyline
funny.
going now, which I don't think we should spoil too much right now. But
we
you
shouldn't
can
spoil
go.
too much here. I'll make an analogy for everybody.
Oh, I guess
here.
we talked about it last week. We literally discovered this on the podcast last week.
You're right, we
yeah.
did.
Yeah,
Well,
we
we
lost
lost
some
subscribers
I love that
at
we've been
first.
doing this journey with the podcast crowd here,
Oh.
so they know what's up. We're losing subscribers / flatlining. We've gained like 10 subscribers in the past 2 days on that channel.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
I feel like we basically made like a travel commercial for like come to New York City, and then accidentally broadcast that commercial in New York City.
Mm. That's good. That's really good. Yeah.
That's kind of what happened. It's like almost 100,000 views on like the Pogo Stick short, and this gained like 20 subscribers or something like that.
Wow.
It's like, man.
Well, we have a
Anyways.
lot more shorts left. The whole point of this was to have a large variety so that at least like maybe a couple of them could go viral. So far,
Yeah.
none of them have.
There's
Yeah.
been some little interesting movements. We'll see. I think we just need to, we're warming up that algorithm, getting it spinning.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it requires a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, I agree.
We tried the trick where we don't notify subscribers when you upload.
Doesn't
work.
seem to work.
It actively
Yeah.
worked against us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pirate software recommended trick.
Yeah. And now we know.
It was the worst advice we've ever acted on.
Yeah. H2O Ton, why don't we post them on TikTok? Because I don't want subscribers on TikTok.
We do have a TikTok
We do.
channel.
People don't jump from platform to platform.
Yeah.
People that watch us on TikTok will not bother to then open YouTube and subscribe on there.
I
It's just
have
how
a
it is.
TikTok account with 1.3 million followers.
I know, Wren's
Mhm.
crazy.
I've not posted anything in 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what? It's crazy to me that like online, if somebody's like, "Hey, somebody asked me to do this job," they said they'd give me some exposure. I was like, "What the heck? You don't get paid in exposure. You get paid in dollars. You go back there and you tell them what's up. Get paid for your work." And then TikTok's like a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're like, "We'll pay you with exposure," and everybody's like, "Yay!" A multi-billion-dollar giant tech company built their value off of paying people on exposure.
Is the monetization on TikTok better than Shorts, or
I don't
No.
even know if there's
Or is there even
monetization
any?
on TikTok.
there's surely some?
There is. It's weird. So the shorts strategy is actually similar to how TikTok and Instagram are doing it, but that is not the same how YouTube has normally done monetization. Usually they I think it's like 55% of revenue goes to the creator, 45 goes to
Mhm.
Google, or is it the other way around?
Other way around.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wait, no, you're right. 55-45.
But
55
for
creator.
TikTok and eventually Instagram, although Instagram now has changed again too. I don't know how monetization works on Instagram anymore. They created what was called the Creator Fund, where they put a bunch of money in it and
Bunch of
everyone is
BS.
able to share from this fund. And that's not directly correlated to how much money TikTok actually makes.
Yeah.
Whereas YouTube is like, all the money we make, we're splitting half of it with the creators
Yeah.
because they're the ones generating. Or TikTok's like, yeah, we may have made $30 billion last year, but we're only going to share 500 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or maybe like 1 or 2 billion. I forget
Scummy.
the actual
it's not
specific numbers. I
transparent at
haven't
all.
paid
It's
attention in a
scummy.
while.
TikTok is a scummy company.
Yeah.
Straight up.
There's also the conspiracy theory that because it is a Chinese-driven company, that they've actually changed the algorithm for the Western world rather than China, which incentivizes fun dances and like fun cutesy things and like stuff that kind of doesn't really stimulate the brain in the way that the algorithm in China is doing it,
Yeah.
where engineering projects and math competitions are like the top of the algorithm.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Were you aware of that? Yeah. It gets real
So
weird.
it's like, oh, are they playing the long game where they're trying to like subtly, dumb us down and make them smart? It's this conspiracy theory. There's no evidence for this other than just a bunch of things that kind of can point that direction.
Yeah.
Or it turns out we all just like dumb dance videos and they all like cool engineering
Yeah,
videos.
they're trying to push engineering, and we're like, nope.
Yeah, don't underestimate how truthful the algorithm actually is.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been YouTube's whole thing. Everyone keeps saying like it's the algorithm doing this. Is like YouTube's like, no, it's the audience. We've made the algorithm basically good enough to know that it's like it's just a reflection of the viewers. If a video is not getting served to people, it's because the people they have served it to didn't like it, and you just got to be honest with yourself about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whenever I'm fed something on my feed that makes me question myself, I always look back at myself. I'm like, what did I do? How did I get here? Because I blame myself. If something pops up and I'm like, that shouldn't be there, that's on me. So, yeah.
Our last thing. So, as you guys know, the podcast, it comes to an end normally, but then we continue a little after show, live hangout, just answering questions, sometimes talking about spicier things that don't go on YouTube. Join on CorridorDigital.com if you'd like. But our last thing before we head to our kind of after show hangout here is I found a YouTube channel last night where the guy that invented Venmo, or one of the guys that was on the team who sold it he made like $800 million or something like that.
Good.
He has a YouTube channel. And in this theme of singularity, living forever, futurology, his YouTube channel is dedicated to him trying to stop the process of aging.
Wait a minute. Is this the guy who takes on the blood of his son? Is that the same guy?
Maybe.
Is this Blood Son guy?
Wait, I think I do know this guy.
Oh, no. Wait, that's the founder of Venmo? Okay, hold on. Let me confirm before I get all excited here.
He just recently released a video where he tried to make his face. Brian Johnson is his name. He just recently released a video where he tried to make his face younger, and it's called Project Baby Face, which I think is half of a joke, but like he's very candid about it, and like he's doing it in such a way where it's like I can't
Blood
like
boy.
I can't be like too
Blood boy,
mean
get
to
in
him
here.
or anything like that. Like
It's your turn now. Come on.
There's a Blood Boy bell. Ding, ding, ding.
yeah, I don't want to be like mean to him or like be like
Yeah.
derogatory towards him, but like it is one kind of a how do I put this. Part of me is and really enjoys the fact that $800 million, a desire to vlog, and an obsession with immortality all came together in one man. Like I really appreciate that's like the future we live in. Once again, guys,
But what if he finds out
We
the
gotta-
answer?
we gotta appreciate the sci-fi tropes we are living through right
Heck
now. There's a man who's almost a billionaire who's trying to live forever, and he's vlogging it. And we
Dude,
get
let's
to
go.
enjoy it.
That's actually so sick. And some of these titles are very funny. I'm not going to read them here, but there's some really funny ones. So enjoy that.
So yeah,
But-
that's where we're living.
Yeah, everyone's laughing until he does it. And then we're all going, okay, what'd you do?
I'm a big proponent of aging gracefully and embracing that seasoned vibe that you get as you get older. Like it's a special vibe when you get to go around and like just squint at people a little bit and they're like, he knows what's up. He's older than me. It's like, enjoy it.
It sounds like
Enjoy it.
someone
If
who's
we
never
had
had a
it-
blood boy.
If we spoke a different language,
Yeah, it sounds like somebody who doesn't have their own blood boy.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
meanwhile, I'm sitting over here just super excited for the NBA season to start.
Yes,
We're in
me
preseason
too.
right now.
Me too.
Yeah, and I bring that up because LeBron James is going to turn 40 in December in his 22nd season in the NBA.
Wow.
Playing alongside his son as a teammate who he had like 2 or 3 years into the league.
First
He'd
person
already
ever
been
to
playing
do
for
that.
a couple years
Yep.
when he had this kid, and now that kid is his teammate.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We've never seen that in professional sports.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So we're trending in the right direction. Well, at least LeBron is. I don't know if he has blood boys too. But yeah, something's working for him.
He just needed to have his blood boy closer to him during the game.
He's attached to him during the game. Oh, that's dark. Very fun ending.
Do you think when he drives home, it's like Mad Max, where he's like Nux in the car, and then like his son's on the front of the hood?
He's at the front of the freaking. I love that. Oh man.
All
That's
right.
funny.
Oh man, we're 2 people away from 100.
Let's go.
We're 2 people away from 100 on this podcast.
Man.
Oh
Are
man.
we gonna hit 100 live viewers right now, or 10 million on the Corridor channel first?
That's a good question.
Yeah, definitely.
Here, I'll join up.
Oh shoot, I can
Oh,
do
wait,
it too.
you guys
Let's
can do it
hack
right
this-
now?
If
Let's
you
do
want
it.
it to feel empty, we can join right
we just
now.
lost
we lost
somebody.
someone.
We lost somebody.
Oh, it's
Wait.
over.
Yeah, log in on your phones. Come on, guys.
All right, I'm
Let's
back
do this.
in. I'm
Let's
back
do
in.
this.
99. Let's go.
Come on.
This is the biggest event in Corridor digital history.
Let's
The
go.
biggest milestone.
Are we already at the post?
Are we in the
post-game?
after show? Are we
in the
gonna
after
save
show
this for
here?
the
Are we in the
after
after
show?
Are we gonna finish this in the after show?
All right, thanks for watching, everyone.
We're
Thanks
taking
for
this after
listening,
show.
and we'll
So
be back
long,
next
everybody.
week.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the podcast. All right, after show begins now.